Let's talk about business, because, you know, writing APL code it's a lot of fun, but managing people having fun from writing APL could be a nightmare. So let's talk about one of them. The slides doesn't matter too much because it's subtitles normally for my talk, and primarily for me. And endless project, or project that never lasts, never end. One of them is tax collection, for example. There is no actually obvious end to the project, and it might look in our business, it might look like it's infinite process of patching and changing code, and it's all the same, and it repeats itself again and again and again. It's like a donkey walking around the water pipe. And for last 25 years, me and my friends and colleagues, we have to deal with one of those projects because we deal with financial markets. And financial market evolves so fast that any company which succeeded to enter the market could hardly change something on its way. I know just a few companies who succeeded to bring another product to the market. Normally, they found themselves in that project which never ends. It's new versions, new patches, new changes, but it's basically the same project. And many parameters doesn't work for endless projects. Like the most painful are the goal and the motivation. And absence of motivation is quite an essential thing because motivation is actually closely connected to achievement. Achievements at the end of something, but the end of something is missing completely in endless projects. We started ours in the beginning of 90s, and at that time motivation was very high because we were working basically for food. And actually the food was the goal. But fortunately it's ended pretty fast and we found ourselves in that very endless software project. And then it was version 1, version 2, version 3, version 7, version 8, version 10, and so on and so on and so on. What's the version of Dyalog now? 16? But Dyalog is slightly different because Dyalog is rule player or rule maker. And us, working for the financial market, we don't make any rules. We just follow, trying to catch what central bank introduced, what clients introduced, and so on and so on. And, well, we started like a garage team of close friends. And it was orthodox management from the top to the bottom. All developers, well, actually, I hated the business just because no one wanted to do that. And it was top to bottom orthodox management because everyone reported to me and all control was in my hands, and sometimes it looks like that, very much. And the downside of that, actually we knew each other for quite a long time, but we collaborate only on technical issues. And actually, well, it's sad to say, but any developer didn't know actually what a friend of him is doing at the next table. It just happened. And everyone was so busy. We were using Microsoft project from the very first day. And it was cool at the beginning, because actually it was not a Microsoft project, it was a team manager from Microsoft. Then Microsoft buried it and introduced Microsoft project. We used it, well, with a lot of enthusiasm. We printed our first initial plan on A4 sheets and covered one wall in our rooms. Well, it survived about a couple of weeks and then things started to change. Because any high priority task, any disease, any days off, any change destroys plan completely. And the more advanced is the plan, the more fragile it is. And automatic scheduling provided by Microsoft Project, it doesn't count the experience of particular people or their preferable, how to say, expertise. So you should do your manual adjustment all the time. And if the project, well, the circumstances change, you do manual adjustments over and over again. Then Microsoft added Microsoft Server, reshuffle the price scheme, and all that exercise with Microsoft Project got very, very expensive. We started to look for alternative, and one of those was Microsoft Project 365. It's a light cloud version of Microsoft Project, a part of Office, so that cloud Office. Yeah, but that was a disaster. Because maybe Word and Excel in that Office 365 is good, but project was just a nightmare. It was stuffed with the bugs all over, nothing worked. It worked so slowly that it's not possible to use it. It was a collaboration tool, but well, just to register a new user in that project was a nightmare. I had the pleasure to talk to the lead of the developers team of that product located in India twice, just to listen to his apologies that, well, we will fix it soon. And then came, well, it was increasing feeling. Realization of all that doesn't make a lot of sense, because in 3 months, what we planned had very little to do with the reality. And we somehow used that scheduling less and less, and at the end, what was the plan in Microsoft Project became just a list of all our tasks, and all the task was appointed or deployed to a particular person manually based on tradition and a person's expertise. Another nice thing, because could you imagine 10 tennis players playing tennis on 10 separated courts? Could you measure their performance, just walking from one court to another court? Maybe yes, maybe not. It was exactly our case, because we, at that time, by the beginning of mid-20s now, I could say so, we were 10 developers, and it was exactly our case. Because every single person working on a single task, normally, well, they were well separated, and you can't really compare them, because it was no competition, it was no real collaboration, it was no meetings actual meetings to show everyone's abilities and maybe deep knowledge of or insight of particular task or the process altogether. It looked like that. And actually, it's affected very many things, because it's affected task deployment, performance measurements, and balance calculation, even personal relation, and sometimes it looked like the tail wags the dog. So, at the beginning of the year 2016, we became 12 APLers plus other stuff. Number one in portfolio management in Russia. We gained some substantial share on the financial market software. And we realized the need for growth, but the things started to go out of control. And it was a growing feeling that something should be changed. And it happened just one day. It's it's written in books, but it's very, very amazing when it happens to you personally, because it just one day it was just understanding that fundamental problem of all that crap was actually me. maybe not me personally, but well, actually the position created a great deal by me. The process created a great deal by me. So in the center of that nightmare was me. And it was a very sharp feeling that it must be changed as soon as possible, as soon as it was realized. But not quite clear what to start with or what should be changing. So the most challenging thing was for Moses to let his people go. Because indeed, well, sometimes I thought about that like I should leave my lovely pet to break free in the streets of St. Petersburg. Something like that. So the Orthodox management doesn't sit well with free initiative. And free initiative was the goal in this game. And, well, actually, the other thing, then it was a chain of synchronicities. It's amazing how that happened. Because first, I stumbled on a book. Well, the book was lying on someone's table in the office. Maybe it was, I noticed it because it was red cover. Maybe because when I opened it randomly, it was a title, Change or Die. So I borrowed the book, I read it in 1.5 days. And then it was exactly what required. Well, it was not actually exactly what required, but there were a lot of answers to the question which was very painful for me at that time. And it was about Scrum. It was about Agile programming. It was a book, Scrum, written by Jeff Sutherland. And, well, actually, we never tried to implement neither Agile, nor Scrum, nor whatever. But instead, we tried to borrow any clever idea from books on the subject, which was applicable and useful for us. The centralized planning was buried completely. It doesn't make any sense. Absolutely none. What was the plan before became a backlog, manageable backlog. Today, every release cycle, we switch to shorter releases, starts with what is actually sprint in terminology of Agile, start with the developers meeting. At the meeting, they look at the backlog and pick tasks from the top of the backlog. I don't participate in this meeting, but I do participate in the other meeting. It's a business meeting. Takes time a day before. When three person meet, me represented the product and the responsible for the value. Marketing director represented market, and our head of support department represent clients. And we reshuffle, not actually reshuffle, we reorder tasks, putting the most prioritized task on the top of the backlog. So our plan is always 1 month fresh, actually. The most experienced developer became the sprint master. We have quite a few meetings, but it's written in books, I would not repeat. We switched to shorter releases, and we have just one major version a year, but it's rather a ritual than a need. So we actually have 4 weeks of development, 1 week of test. Later we changed that because, well, if I had time, I will speak about that, but we have first planning meeting, then developers look at the specification, all that, then they meet again and do the final. It's not actually planned, but, well, something like a schedule. Then after 3 weeks of development, it's a week of test, and after that, they leave a trace in our documentation. They write a chapter to the technical documentation and a chapter to the user documentation. Tests, tests performed both by developers themselves and by the support department. And what actually we did, we or actually we've done, we break down our endless project to smaller projects with a clear goal and some kind of motivation which is possible in that, in this case. At the same time, we started to use JIRA. Actually, as I heard about Agile programming from Steven Teller about some years ago. It was his presentation and didn't got a clue. I tried JIRA years ago looking for a bug tracker, but it didn't say anything to me. But this time it was exactly what's required, because it was not JIRA bug tracker as before. It was a JIRA software, a new version of Atlassian software which is made for Agile development, exactly, and it's fit our needs just like 100%. And along with JIRA software, which is Agile planning tool, they have JIRA Service Desk and JIRA Wiki and all that integrated. And it took us just a month to implement all that and migrate all the data from Microsoft project to JIRA, and it started to work immediately. Well, it's how we work before, and something about how we work now, because, well, success story is a good thing, but probably traps and problems is more important to hear. Traps. Roles hell. Well, when it's a small team, it's always a specialization. An interface guy, a kernel lady, a man responsible for reports. And it's very hard to change that, because if you are looking for something flexible, something should be changed, because you should somehow, not actually wipe, but not actually dilute, but made more people doing the same job. Then you have flexibility. Then you can do a lot of things differently. Specification hell. We still don't know how to do specification actually, because it's tradition. Well, it's tradition because we don't do well. It's APL. We never made any specs because every APLer did it himself. So the downside of that was when APL developers get together around the planning meeting, no one really understood anything about the task and the backlog, because the backlog was reshuffled day before by the managers. It's a real problem. That's why they then change it to that two-step procedure. First, they plan their sprint, and then they look into the specification, look at the information available, look at the samples available, and they meet another one, and then they could say, in 1 month, we are going to deliver that. Traditional, if something goes wrong, the team falls into the most useful for what they used to. So it's too old-fashioned. Ambition hell, we gain really serious productivity. Our productivity rise at least 2 times. So we started we allowed ourselves to do something really weird, like sending customers an announcement, in a month we are going to deliver you that and that and that. Don't do that. Problems. Yeah, the biggest problem, we don't know how to assess complexity. We don't know yet. After working more than 25 years, we don't know how to do that. Another problem is our client department, or client support department. I didn't see any books or articles written on the I didn't find even no information on how the support department should deal with the new Agile approach, because Well, just to be short, the biggest problem is that in the past, with 1 year releases, it was just a few requests from any single customer. So, but we responded to almost each of them in a very prompt way. As a result, we had a nightmare that we have a whole lot of versions, so every client's version was a separate folder in our servers. Yeah, but when we switched to Agile, the 1 month cycle, we thought was, it's enough, they could wait 1 month and then we deliver everything to everyone received during the month. Actually, not during the month, during the 2, because if it was a call, the request could go only to the next release. And it didn't work, because for every single customer, they started to receive code written for them upon their response 1 or 2 months later. It was completely unacceptable, and it forced a complete crisis in our support department because it was a disaster for them too. Yeah, I'm going to skip it because it's interesting, but it's probably a good talk for a separate story, how do we handle all that with the support department. But at the end, we ended in a very sad way because we had to part with the head of the support department. And de facto, I became a crisis administrator there. And it was a time for change there too. So, and in change in support department, it's another story. It's also a very thrilling thing. Responsibility. Probably you would like to hear about that. Nothing to say. Agile really doesn't affect that. I couldn't say that it was any change in responsibility. And now, timing. We are finishing. In 1 month since we started to implement that, it was overwhelming enthusiasm. Everyone was so happy. The boss was somewhere else. No one was pushing. Well, it's not actually freedom, but well, it's a free fly in the skies. Okay? In 3 months, it was an impressive success, and actually productivity by that time rose about 2 times. 6 months, reasonable enthusiasm. 9 months, well, it was the most difficult time, because it was first ambitious task, because we thought we can do everything we want. It was first stress, it was first wounds, unknowing capacity overestimation, broken deadlines, something like that. It was, it was a bad feeling actually at this moment. But, oh, come on. It's hands on. Okay, Dad. In 1 year, everything changed. Because the team just, I don't know, well, it just happened. The team started to behave as one organism. Just united team which is capable of moving themselves without the boss, without any push into particular direction. They started to pick up tasks another member of the team couldn't complete in time. They started to reshuffle tasks on the course of the sprint. It was so nice. And it was a great feeling for me personally, because it was a great risk, but the great was the feeling at the, oops. No, it was not planned. Yeah. And takeaways. Agile is not a religion. Well, and it is not the Aladdin lamp. Agile is not Legoland. No standard blocks. While the books are written in a very aggressive way with some just procedures and approaches just pushed to the reader, Well, it is not like that. Lots of holes in all that theory, but there is a great idea which you could effectively implement in your case if your company really needs that. And all that, the most important, takes patience and time. I'm okay?